Hello and welcome to XI Café. This is the Experience Improvement Podcast brought to you by InMoment. My name's Simon Benz. Hi, I'm Sales Director here at InMoment. And today we're talking to Katie Bogg.
Hi, everybody.
Customer Experience and Insights Manager at Commonwealth Super Corporation, about how they relaunched their CX program to achieve higher customer engagement and positive business outcomes. Hello and welcome, Katie.
Hi, Simon. Jumped the gun on my greeting because I'm so excited, but hello, everybody.
All right, so let's just start with you and CSC. Why don't you tell us a bit about CSC and then also what your role there involves?
So CSC, in the name, Commonwealth Super Corporation, we look after superannuation for the Australian Defence Force and the Australian Public Service.
Okay.
So we actually turned 100 this year, so we're very
Wow.
old. For most of that time period, we've had no competition. For most of our customers, no competition. So interesting environment. We are government. We are financial services. So we have the double whammy of regulation and rules, and we love to follow them, which is not my strength personally, but that's us. It's interesting. It's fun. Lots of rules, lots of changes every single day. And then my role in the business, I've actually been here since 2007. So I've grown up here really. But 2017, I had the opportunity to start building a role around voice of customer. So that's where my voice of customer journey really started. And now my team, we've kind of two streams. Part of us looking after voice of customer, looking after all of the insights, and then the CX, so journeys, personas, hassling people to make a change, or me.
Got it. And I mean, 100 years, I didn't even know superannuation was around for that long.
Only for politicians, probably. So,
got it.
And Defence Force, so.
Got it. I can imagine that there's a lot of processes that have been very well established that may or may not be appropriate for the current world.
Yeah, it's funny looking, it's 100 years, so people are pulling out all of these weird binders and facts in our first annual report, which is like a yellow brick that took us like 3 years to make. So we've come a long way.
Okay, got it. I've got a sense of where you are. Government plus finance, that's too many regulations for my tiny little brain to even comprehend.
Mine too.
So you decided to relaunch back in 2019, is that right?
Yes.
So when you decided to relaunch, what was the CX program looking like at the time?
We had a lot. Well, I think we had a lot of surveys. We had quite a few. So we were asking a lot of questions of our customers. So our first one in 2017, we found a lot of issues that we'd known about for a really long time. We just hadn't done anything about it.
Yeah.
We actually were kind of just post-merger at that point as well. So we had part APS, so part very public service, part government-owned corporate entity. Yeah. Then we all came together. So the culture was post-merger culture. I'm sure if anyone's been through it, you know what I'm talking about. So that was a challenge. But really what we were suffering from is we were listening, and I had this huge desire to like make sure that the time that our customers spent telling us what was happening was being reflected in change. But that was the part we didn't get. So we were listening, we were kind of learning, and that's where that cycle ended for us.
So if you think about the listen, analyze and act framework, you kind of had the listen bit down pat, but the analyze and act bit still needed a bit of work.
I mean, especially as far as the dashboards in the platform, we had a few, but yeah, it was the team was me, half my job, and a lot of challenges and a lot of trying to understand like where do we pitch, like who wants to listen, really figuring out how to take the next step. And then 2019, I decided to relaunch. I got a new boss.
Okay.
We got our first CCO, which I was very excited about. He probably is the only person I've ever met that rivals me in like being obsessed with customers and being endlessly optimistic. So he was like, why don't we just change everything you've built, Katie? And I was like, well, why not, PJ? Let us go. So we decided to just tear everything down and start again and make a change.
Okay. So
I should have
what were
said no.
the? No, that sounds good. That's a good enough reason. Were there any other reasons for driving the change, or was it really you and PJ deciding that you saw a gap, that getting the insights coming in, not really making change off the back of it? There's definite work to be done, or was there anything else that precipitated the change?
Well, it was that I think him coming in really just enabled me to go like, have a look at the program, have a look at the questions, and think, are we actually asking the questions that customers want to answer?
Yeah.
Like, we're asking what we want to know, not what the customer wants to tell us. And so with that frame, it almost enabled us to go, well, if we start with our surveys, we have a look at what they look like, we have a look at why we're even doing what we're doing in our space. And of course, if we're asking the rest of the business to take our feedback on board, like we need to take that feedback on board ourselves, and really trying to use that as the catalyst to increase that internal engagement, get the message out to the rest of the business, and start to move those business and client outcomes. Because we had a few that were all just things my friends did for me in the business because I called in a favor. Like, we could call this podcast like Katie's great friends and what they did for her and how I built a program from it, honestly. But we wanted to take it away from like favors from friends and really turn it into a program.
We'll come to that in a bit, because that's actually one of my favorite parts of your entire program. Is how you drive through change. So we'll come to that in a bit. When you first started doing the kind of the revamp of the program, were there any initial challenges, or was there any roadblocks to that transformation?
I mean, a few. I think the big one just goes back to that culture. So finance plus government equals layers and layers and layers and layers and layers, each of those layers with a crazy set of rules. We value compliance and we value rule following and we value not taking risk.
Oh, yeah.
Probably too much. Or we did at that time, and that's definitely shifted. So what we were coming up against was there was so much desire from business to change and be customer centric, but a real fear of doing that and breaking the rules, or like, oh, what happens if it goes wrong, or what happens if someone does something that their boss did not quite articulate. So getting past that sort of compliance value. And then this business is full of incredible people, but incredibly experienced people who'd done things the same way their whole career. And they were so smart. And I think super can sometimes be quite paternalistic. Like, we know what's best because it's complicated. People aren't engaged. So trying to break through that respectfully, like without alienating people and without sort of seeming to hint that they weren't doing the right thing for the customer, because they absolutely were. It's just giving them more information to do the most right thing.
Right. Are we talking about the kind of situation where someone really has got the customer's best interest at heart, but it's more that they think they know what the customer wants rather than necessarily listening to what the customer's telling them they
Yeah,
want?
absolutely.
Got you. And in terms of the compliance thing, is quite an interesting thing, because it feels like some organizations I speak to, that becomes a safety automatic no, where as soon as something gets hard, I can't do it for compliance. It still feels like it's the easiest cop out. No, that's the wrong way of describing it, but you know what I mean? Like, it's the easiest way of not doing something that could potentially be difficult, or
100%.
how did you
Not
overcome that?
saying it's an excuse, but it's an excuse. I think the other
You
part of
said it. You said it.
I flirted with for this was like Katie breaking all the rules. But I think for me it was like, well, let's start small.
Okay.
Let's pick our battles. So I did try the big stuff first, and that was
Okay.
not the most successful approach.
What happened there?
Well, it just went nowhere. It was too many
Okay.
people, and the attitude is like, oh, Katie, whose job is it to fix this? Yours? Like,
Yeah.
so really I worked on like, who are my advocates? Who are the people in this business who are kind of ready to push the boundaries just a little bit? And then me figuring out like how much of a boundary have I got to work with in this situation. So once I could do that, once I could find those champions and make those tiny changes, then I would find a way to measure that success. It helps when you're running the whole survey program.
Yeah.
And then I would shout that thing from the rooftops. I would celebrate that person, like balloons, streamers, emails, anything I could do to showcase, like, you just made this big change. You were so brave. I didn't really bring balloons and streamers, by the way,
Yeah.
but I'm like imagining that
I
Aladdin
can
parade
imagine
and
the
I'm
GIFs at
obsessed.
the end of your emails. I can imagine there's quite a lot of images and things
Oh
coming
my God.
through.
I'm a menace. But people love it. People love to be celebrated, and I don't think we do that
Yeah.
enough. So there's a gap, and I filled it. And so people wanted that because people are sitting back. I think it's like FOMO. Like, I had that idea as well. So, well, tell me, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized at the time what I was doing. I was just like hustling. But looking back, it's all of those little tiny things that we did that got us ready
Yeah.
to be where we are today. And it's just finding those people who have a skill, sucking up all their intelligence, and then getting their help to.
Yeah. Was this done? 'Cause I mean, this is, if you break down everything you do, this is one of the most important win themes, and we don't want to trivialize it or skim over it, because it's been a massive important part of the win. You not coming in, even though I think you said to me once before that you obviously knew all of the wonderful good things you could do, but it wasn't what you knew you could do. It's more that what you knew you could get done. It was the choices you had to make. And you're saying that a large part of that was finding champions and people internally that were willing to take a bit of a risk and put a bit of an effort in to help you push through, even if it was the smallest thing. Was that something that you formalized? Did you map out the company and try, or was it just something you did because you're Casey and everyone loves you?
The last one, I don't think I've formalized anything in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've been here such a long time, and I sort of know so many people in the business. Like, lucky we're a pretty small company. And I know what people care about. Like, everybody has that thing, right? That they're so
Yeah.
mad about. Like, this customer had this awful thing happen and we're just not working on it. Or
Yeah.
particular people have these particular products that they're just obsessed with. They just love it so much. So it's kind of like, who do I know who has a passion, and how do I capitalize on that passion? Or how do I like find someone with an idea that matches what our customers need? And then, like, I've done nothing but connect people all the way along,
Yeah.
get them working on something, and then get that pushed out. And we have our customer panel, which is honestly the greatest thing ever, because if people are afraid, then I just go to the customer panel. They tell us if they like it or not. And again, it's just that celebratory thing of when you do something for a customer and you can immediately have that customer come back and be like, yes, this is awesome, so much better. It just energizes you, right?
100%. So before we move on, is there kind of one example that stands out of in the early days, back in 2019, early 2020, of these early wins that you selected? You got a champion and they helped you do something that improved a customer outcome that you could celebrate?
I mean, it's such a little one, but
Perfect.
we had one of our big issues is logging onto online services. So everyone's big solution to that is fix online services. I don't know if you know this, but that's not easy or cheap. And I don't work in technology nor understand it. But we had someone in the call center and I was talking to them and they're like, you know what? The problem is we don't even tell people that their login changes when they become a pensioner, which sounded silly to me. So I was like, all right, so what do I need to do to fix that? She goes, well, we should be going out with this, this news welcome email for pensioners, and it should say all this stuff and it would just help immensely. And I've wanted it for such a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, amazing. You know who would love this? Went to my friend who runs our comms. And I was like, oh, I heard the saddest thing about our pensioners. Like, can you believe? She's like, Katie, that's awful. I need to fix it. And I was like, amazing. Who else? Oh, there's a lady who looks after our pensioners. I'll get her on board. And I basically just went and picked friends, told sob stories, told what I needed to tell. And then, like, honestly, 3 weeks later, I had a product.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool. Who needs to launch this? And we just got it done. And it was so big, not only for our customers, and honestly, we should have been doing it for ages, but for that person in the call center who was just so mad about taking the same call over and over again. And that was big for us because then she kept coming to us with more and more and more ideas.
Yeah.
And then I probably rolled that story out for the following year and a half until I got something better.
It's a good story. It's a good story. And you're able, obviously, I can imagine that's quite an easy one to track the success. You could probably link it to reduction of inbound calls and all of that type of thing, reduction in cost to serve. Probably made
Yeah,
that individual look like an absolute rock star.
absolutely.
And now
But
everyone
then
else
she got
wants
a
to be
better
a rock
job and
star.
left. So
Oh, well,
backfired.
didn't make it look like too much of a rock star. So, what the transformation itself? The large part of it was a program rebrand. Tell us about that.
Yes. Again, this is like who is Katie friends with, but I'm really great friends with our brand manager.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about the challenges, and I was like, we've just got this great stuff, and I don't know how to get people to listen to it. I don't know how to get beyond where we are. So he kind of connected us with our brand agency, and we ended up branding the program the Compass. Um, Obsessed with the name because now I have like a range of really cool imagery to go along with it. But really, what was so powerful for us in that process was we defined the purpose.
Yeah.
So trying to understand, like, what even is this thing about that we're doing? And we settled on a purpose, which was about the compass allows everybody to move in the right direction from our customers. We use from our customers for our customers. We use feedback to make the right changes, and we can test where we're going and re-navigate as needed.
Yeah.
Articulated much better. And it was that purpose that really changed everything for us because every decision we made after that and all of the success that we ended up having in internal engagement all linked back to the concept of this is just a tool that everyone uses to tell us what to do next. This is for everybody. It's not
Yeah.
for the exec to make decisions. It's not for a reporting cycle. Like, this is not about reporting at all. It's for
Yeah.
everyone to use. And that kind of extension of ownership and that concept of like, let's just be brave enough to take a step forward. Because if it's the wrong step forward, the compass will tell us. And I
Yeah.
always get this imagery because I'm consistently lost in the middle of Sydney whenever I go there, just like wandering in circles, with my map in front of me. Still haven't learned how to use it, but that's really what the compass is about. Like, someone tell me where to go.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm on track and I'll get where I need to be. So
You made an interesting point there as well. What's the ownership of the program? Who owns it?
we're trying to make sure everybody owns it because
Okay.
I am very noisy, very loud, very in everyone's face. One of the challenges was then it was like, well, that's Katie's thing.
Yeah.
So we're in that process of really making sure everyone owns it. So for me, the compass isn't about a survey. It's
Yeah.
about what our customers need. So that's complaints, that's operational data, that's
Yeah.
having a conversation on the phone and hearing from a customer that they don't like something or they need something or that they love something and we should do more of that thing. So the compass is really at this point growing to be everyone who has ideas and insights are part of the compass. And the compass belongs to everybody to use and interact with. And that's been a journey, but I think we're at a really good point there. So
Okay. How did you increase engagement of the program?
um
Apart
I
from you
just
just being super enthusiastic and telling everyone about it a million times.
well, that was like really something Shannon in my team calls it experiments in engagement.
Okay.
But we tried a lot of things and then one of them stuck. So we used to hold what we call a compass forum. Originally VoC forum didn't have such a good ring to it, so the compass forum. And we were told that we could invite certain people. So the attendance list was given to us from our managers or from they thought who would be interested. We peaked at 10 attendees once.
Yeah.
Um, low point of 0 attendees on one very terrible day that I decided we needed something new. So what we did was we just decided that if the compass was for everybody, we were just going to invite the whole business and see what happened. So I hate saying luckily about a global pandemic, but at the time we made that decision, we also had COVID. So everyone had moved to online.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of at home, a little bit lost and a little bit disconnected. And then we just invited the whole business to hear about the customer. And that first one we had probably like 36 people come to. So I got a new high instantly. Um, but that helped us to find our advocates, because this was 36 people who came to listen to
Wasn't their job, hadn't been told to do it, just had an
and it was
interest in it.
crazy. It's like this guy from legal, this person from IT, just a bunch of really passionate people who just wanted to hear about it. So we did that. The next one we held, it's hard to give monthly reporting on the topic of superannuation, which just doesn't move that quickly.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do I make something interesting? And I had a grad who joined my team officially, and she'd done all this work on a retirement journey as part of the grad project that I'd assigned her. So it's like, let's theme the next one about retirement, so I've got something to say. And that turned into a really lucky decision, because we had like 60 people show up. And they were like, it's so great we've got different themes. What are you talking about next time? And I was like, I guess we theme the Compass Forums. So we just kept shifting it up and making sure we were trying to find relevant themes for different business areas. And honestly, it was about sharing insights with business and hoping that it got to a point where business could make a change. But if I'm very honest, it was an exercise in shameless self-promotion, where I just told everyone in the business what I did every day and then tried to make them want to be part of my story. Now it's more about the insights than the shameless self-promotion, because people get it. But it worked. Like, we're up to, my new high is 158 people in a business of about 500 just coming to hear from us. We have I think 2 months ago, the CEO planned and opened the forum with me.
Wow.
We have the CEO and the exec like in the chat every time, like, what about this? What are you doing? And so part of the reason people turn up is because the CEO is going to be there. So
Yeah, of course.
they want to talk to the CEO about that idea that they had, or they want to hear what matters to him or whatever. And we've been really clever also about picking our speakers. So originally it was like, oh, my friend Will would love to talk about the thing he's got going on. I'll ask for a favor. But then we started to think, who's not coming? And who would they love to see speak? And then I go and get their boss to host the forum with me. So then they have to come because
You're
their
a
boss
sneaky
is going to be
sneak,
there.
aren't you, Katie?
Oh my God, I so am. Taylor Swift is my hero, and I've learnt like from the best. But it works, right? Because then they come and they're like, actually, that was pretty great. I'm going to keep coming. So I think last financial year where I do my reporting, we got like 60% of the business come to at least one forum. So everyone in the business is hearing from the customer.
And how do you, apart from the forum, do you have any other type of ongoing reporting to the business, and has that shifted much over the course of the program?
So that we had started our engagement with reporting, and then people just flicked it off because it was just another report. They didn't fully understand it. So since the as part of the rebrand, we actually worked with Justin from In Moment, who built us this amazing suite of dashboards that we rolled out. Everyone thought that I was so great at my job when I did that. So thanks, Justin from In Moment. But what we noticed was people just started engaging because we almost taught them how to do it. Like every single forum starts with, and we measure this way, and this is how you can find it, and this is what we do. So we noticed an uptick in all of that. And now we're at the point where we're starting to redo that reporting, because the appetite for what we deliver now is just so great. We can do all the things we tried before and failed at. felt a lot, but yeah, so it's changing, it's happening. We do
Okay.
a lot of one-on-one consulting. We try to jump into really relevant projects, so that's where we've kind of built that other expertise and that other sort of arena. But the publication of the compass, we do the slide deck. We then publish the slide deck with a bit of a story. We send the slide deck to the board, so the board gets it in their decision making, and that's almost become our reporting,
Okay.
which saves a
Life.
lot of time.
And how, so looking back at the last 3 years, obviously we're actually running out of time.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. We do want to find out what's next. What's been the thing that you're most proud of, would you say, or the moment where you're like, you know what, we've done a good job here? Has there
Do
been
you know what? It's the most random proud moment that I can think of. But there's this random guy in IT who comes to like every single forum, loves
Yeah.
it, loves what we do. And I was in a meeting with him about something probably very boring. And he was like, oh, by the way, Katie, just need to thank you for the onboarding pack. No worries. What happened? He's in this IT Salesforce implementation prioritization thing, which I
Yeah.
would never ever be invited to, right? And they were making a decision to like deprioritize a portion of the platform because they didn't think it was relevant. And Martin was literally pulled up my slide deck and was like, no, no, no. Katie said last month that employers are the most important part of the onboarding journey. And therefore, we're going to do this. And then got it straight up the priority list again. And that was the first moment where I was like, oh my God, like, look at these decisions being made completely outside of
Insights
me.
driven decision making in the hands of the frontline team. That's the dream, isn't it?
Incredible. And who would have thought it would be like this random dude in IT and not like the people who originally got assigned to come to the Compass Forum because they're apparently the right people. Like the right people is not the person you think it is. And I love
That's
that.
Well, that's probably my biggest takeaway from speaking to you in terms of driving through change. The right people are not who've got the right job title. It's the ones that are most likely to do something about the insights that you're placing in front of them. That's big. So what's next?
Yeah.
What done well so far? Can't imagine you're
Um,
going to sit on your laurels. Where are you going next?
oh my God. I was actually thinking, do I want to relaunch again? But probably not. But where we're at the moment is, as evidenced by that kind of story I just told, is a lot of the things that we thought we needed to do are just taking care of themselves because of the engagement. So now
Yeah.
I'm shooting for that really strategic embedding insights into all the right processes. So I met with our EPMO and now we're best friends this morning. So it's like, how do I make sure that every single thing that goes through the EPMO, whether it's continuous improvement, whether it's they're going to take the innovation program now, by the way. So that's exciting. Every single decision is now going to have a customer insights lens on the back of it.
Wow.
I met with he's about to get promoted, I feel, but he runs our business strategy. And I just went from one metric to like 10 in his reporting just like 2 weeks ago. So that's where I'm at the moment. Like get into every strategic decision making point and make sure that what we're asking is really just hitting those business metrics. And that means that really that big stuff is taking care of itself. The little stuff is taking care of itself. And then I would say a holiday, but then I'll probably just take on something else. So
Okay. Wow.
maybe that's next.
Well, why don't we pick this up in 6 months' time and see where we're going? Because the holy grail of, I think, most CX programs is to get the insights embedded at the heart almost automatically of every decision the business makes. And it sounds like you're not far from that point. So I'm keen to see how that
I
pans
will
out in the
caution
next.
you that I'm endlessly optimistic and this could just be like not
No,
even remotely close, but that's where we're at. Like we've
the
had so much
EPMO is listening to this going, what on earth? Who's Katie? So
they
like,
love it.
is that the lady that was knocking on the door last week? No,
Look,
this is
being annoying has got me so far in life. So I'm not going to give up now.
okay. Okay, we've had one question, and actually we're at time. I'm so sorry, Juliana. We'll come back to you with an answer to your question. We are at time. This has been great fun, Katie. I knew it would be. It's been really insightful. There's quite a lot to take away and unpick. And I think we should definitely revisit this in a few months' time to see how you got on, because I'm enjoying the evolution of where you're going. I really, 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 really appreciate your time. You've been brilliant.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
It was quite good fun, wasn't it? I know it wasn't like Victoria said it was going to be. All right, we better go. We're running over. Have a cracking afternoon. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya. Bye.